Here we have the Korg TB-TBX. The actual name is the AC30/6TB/TBX. The last of the UK-made Vox AC30 reissues. Most see this and look at this and see this really desired, expensive, wonderful amp. I look at this and I see a bunch of factory ground loops, really poor design and layout. This was made back when Marshall was building these. It's built like a JCM 800 from the same period, or JCM 900. It's got a lot of mistakes, and we're just going to start snipping away. Snip, snip, snip. Getting ready to pull all this junk out. Really, I mean, what could go wrong running a screen grid resistor right above a heater trace? On earlier ones, they ran the grid stoppers. Here were their jumper wires along those same heater traces. What could possibly go right? But anyway, we're going to be cutting out a lot of stuff and removing a lot of stuff, getting all the mistakes out, including cutting some traces, and all these caps are going to get changed out, the old filter caps, and we'll make this a much better amp. And you know, that is just not a good connection. I'm sorry, that's not how one builds an amp to last. This one has lasted. This one, they just pretty much got lucky. This is just a really crappy way of securing things. Hand wired. Whose hands? All right, just about everything is off the board that is coming off the board. And I've got a couple of traces to cut. I'm not going to show everything I do, but I'll show some of the whys. These two box caps here I don't normally change, but someone had boogered them all up with a soldering iron, and the insides were exposed to the elements. I've got box caps aplenty. I just got to look at my stash. But one of the issues with this amp is this is a heater trace, and it's a fraction of a millimeter close to that ground there. And the other heater trace is right next to these B+ nodes, and that heater trace is right next to that B+ nodes. So it only takes a little bit of a spill on these boards, and you'd have terrible arcing. You know, heater to ground short, or heater to B+ short, or here where the screen grids go and the grid stoppers, they're trusting just a little coating over this copper trace to keep that bare metal wire from shorting to the heater, or this resistor from shorting to the heater if that resistor gets too hot. And you know, insulation, the coating on boards is good, but it's not a miracle worker. You really want to have a gap between anything with high current. And in an amplifier, the heater supplies the highest current you're going to encounter. So you really want to have good gaps. You know, right here, that is an acceptable gap for most things. For really small signal stuff with no real current, you can have things much closer together. But when you have significant current, like this gap right here between these heater traces is good. This gap between this heater trace and B+ is not. This gap between this heater trace and ground is very much not. That, I mean, that could arc at any second. The other thing that's weird about this is they have these big thick traces for the heaters, and then they get real thin because they need to squeeze between a capacitor. That's just a stupid way to do it. So actually I'm going to cut these traces so there's no heater voltage on them coming anywhere near this other stuff. And then I will run some wires to the board, from the board to the tube sockets, and just eliminate that potential disaster. I'll get in there and cut some ground traces. There's some previous videos on this series that I've shown where I show in great detail what I do and why. You know, so this thing will sound great, be much quieter in terms of its self noise, and last a really long time.